Hello and welcome to the Aery, a level 55 to 56 dungeon unlocked as part of the main story quest in Final Fantasy XIV Heavensward. This dungeon has some pretty cool boss fights, and this video intends to make those fights doable for newcomers and veterans alike. The trash in this place is mostly dragon based. As you can imagine, it's essentially a floating fortress for Nidhogg and his consorts to make an army to invade Ishgard. Many of the dragons have your usual cleaves and avoidance circles, but nothing too important to note, other than you need to kill certain packs to actually unlock these barred barricades to progress towards the bosses. The first boss you encounter breaks you into the idea of high damage yet easy to avoid mechanics fairly quickly. This is Rangda, a sky serpent, almost eel-like creature, and much like an eel, his attacks are all electricity based. There are three major mechanics and the usual avoidance circles to look out for. The first mechanic is electric cachesis. This is a long range attack that targets people outside of the boss's melee range. It's easy to step into melee range to avoid, and you can easily see it by a circle on the floor where it's not going to hit. The second ability is also one of the most enjoyable to watch if someone hasn't done it before. Occasionally Rangda places a buff on a party member called Prey. This attaches a lightning tether to the player. Around the room are gargoyle statues. The player needs to walk to one of these statues to pass on the tether. Failure to do this within a few seconds will result in an instant death. I believe one of our group members can demonstrate that for you. Thirdly, ads. These need to be killed when they are up before you go back onto the boss as to not get overwhelmed. In short, the fight is very simple with some very high damage from very simple mechanics, so by this point you should have no problem. Moving on, and we have a great deal of simple trash, then our second boss, Gaius Cutis. This guy is poison based and is all about ad management. Throughout the fight, the boss will place clouds of poison around the room on players' locations. You need to move from these clouds instantly. If you don't, they will spawn ads for every cloud that was touched, much like Yogg-Saron from World of Warcraft if you ever did Ulduar. However, for every cloud out, the boss gains a stacking damage buff on himself. Throughout the fight, bomb ads will spawn. These green bombs will attempt to eat the clouds around the arena. What you want to do is let them eat around 2 clouds before taking care of the bomb ad. This limits the amount of stacks the boss gains. It's worth noting, however, that you must kill the bomb before it eats 4 clouds. If this happens, it will explode, do massive damage, and place a horrible poison debuff on every party member. It's not completely unrecoverable, but easily avoided, and it's obviously the smart thing to do. The remainder of the fight is fairly simple. It's just rinse and repeat, making sure those ads don't reach 4 stacks, killing them before they do, making sure there's not too many clouds around to stack the debuff too high on the boss to give him too many stacks of damage, and that's pretty much it. You follow this routine and you will have him dead in no time. So let's move on. Finally, at the precipice of the Aery, we meet our final boss of the dungeon, Nidhogg. This is one of the more advanced fights you'll face in early Heavensward content, but is actually quite straightforward with some forward planning. Nidhogg is a dragon, and as such we face him away from the party. Firstly, throughout the fight you need to be fully aware of the direction the boss is facing, as his first ability, Crimson Price, is dependent on this. When he uses Crimson Price, the boss will spin around to face a party member at random. If he faces you, you need to move a few steps to the left or right to avoid damage from an orb he casts at a location you were standing when he faced you. These fiery orbs do burn damage, and after Nidhogg has finished putting orbs on all of the people he chooses, he will face back towards the tank's direction shortly before the orbs exploding into random line AoEs which you will need to avoid. The second ability to be aware of is Sable Price. This is a trap placed on a random party member. The trap itself is attackable by other party members, and they must destroy it to free the trapped player. If they fail to destroy the trap before the trap's cast timer on Sable Weave completes, then the trap will instantly kill the victim. For this reason and others, spatial awareness is very much required on this fight. Zoom out, and to make it even less annoying for people, make sure that if you are ranged, you stand somewhere that isn't a million miles away from everyone else. The fight continues until Nidhogg reaches 30% health. At this point he flaps his wings and buggers off into the air to prepare for his ultimate ability. During this phase transition, ads will spawn. You will notice Estinian is at the back of the room and is vulnerable to attack, and so far he's been taking damage from the passive damage of the fight from Nidhogg, etc, and the dragon adds in this phase will attempt to kill him. If they succeed in killing Estinian, you wipe. If you are the healer then, it's most important to keep Estinian topped up. You can heal him. I heal him to full with instant cast full heal abilities, and you can use something similar. If not, just top him up as much as possible. The adds in this phase need to be killed as soon as possible. It's an add DPS race, otherwise Nidhogg obliterates your entire party with his ultimate ability. Once all the adds are dead and you've managed to survive this far, you must stand on Estinian as he will cast a bubble you need to stand in to survive his ultimate ability. If you survive this, then the rest of the fight is more of the same and it should go pretty quickly. Be aware that traps will still be placed on players and you will still need to free them before going back on the boss. The worst thing you can do is think you're on the home stretch, have your healer trapped, ignore it, and then you to be trapped next, and then you won't actually kill the boss. That's happened several times with me. If you followed all of these guidelines, however, you should have vanquished Nidhogg and progressed your storyline. Congrats! If you've enjoyed this video, leave me a like below. Until the next dungeon guide, I'll see you next time.